Welcome back to the reading of King Harald Finehair's Saga of Heimskringla. And today we've come to the chapter on Svase the giant. One winter King Harald traveled to visit Uppland and prepared a Yuletide visit to Tofte. Tofte is still there today. It's a Tofte gård, the farm Tofte. Up until the late Middle Ages, it was a kongsgård, a king's farm. It lies just south of Dombås, so on the way up to the big mountain plateau that divides Uppland from Trøndelag. And Trøndelag is the area of Trondheim, Nidaros Cathedral, the Lade Earls, and then we're just south of the mountain plateau dividing those two areas. And Jul is Christmas, so we still call it Christmas Jul in Scandinavia. On the eve of Jul, Svase came to the door as Harald sat at the table. He sent a message to the king that he should come out and meet him, and this message angered the king. The same man brought the king's rage out as had delivered the message in. But Svase insisted the same message be delivered a second time and proclaimed that he was the Finn that King Harald had allowed to set his gamme by the slopes on the other side of the road. So a Finn in this case is Sami of the Sami people. When the Saga mentions a gamme is a more permanent building or housing than, for example, the traditional tent of the Sami, which is a lavvo. And by the slopes on the other side of the road. So the old road more or less follows what, not the main road today, but the valley road that passes by Tofte gård today. And when it says the other side of the road, it would be on the east side of the river, because the river which runs through Gudbrandsdalen is it's a very harsh river in the springtime when you have the snow smelting. On one side of the valley you have what is called Jotunheimen mountains, and the other side you have Rondane, which are the two highest mountain ranges in Norway. So when snow melts in the spring, you have all this water coming down into Lågen, the river running through Gudbrandsdalen, and the spring flooding is pretty violent. So wooden bridges were not really tenable in prior times. The only place that I know of that you had like a tradition of having bridges before we had concrete and steel and all this was Harpebrua, which is close to Vinstra. But at that point, Lågen, which is quite broad, narrows very, very much down, and even that bridge was constantly destroyed by flooding. And not just the seasonal flooding. Every 10 or 20 years in Gudbrandsdalen you have like major overflooding of the river, and which is quite devastating even to the modern bridges and farms that are close to the river and so forth. So that river would have been really hard to traverse most places up the valley. So Svase, he's not on that side of the river if they're just skipping out or going out or traveling quite close to meet him. He would be on the east side of the river, which also kind of makes sense because from there you have a valley called Grimsdalen, which goes up from just about where Tofte gård is and opens. It's a wider valley than the valleys going up in the mountains on the other side. And it has, up in Grimsdalen, you have many old hunting graves and hunting deposits from way back. If these are Sami, it's not like super clear if they're Sami or not, but a little bit north of Grimsdalen and Tofte, you have from this specific period Sami finds close to a lake called Aursjøen. So it's just to say that the areas of where you had Sami and Sami life was much further south in Norway the Sami have been unfortunately pushed much further north, but in the Viking time you would have them much further south in the country. And the place names in South Norway also reflect this. So the king went out and agreed to come with them and visit his home. And they went over to the hill and into his gamme, while some of his men encouraged him, but others advised him against it. And again, I think they're explicitly mentioning a hill, and all this area around here is slightly hilly. So if it's nearby, I would think we're looking probably at something, not for sure, but at something up in Grimsdalen and towards that highland area. There Snefrid stood up, Svase's daughter, a most beautiful woman, and poured the king a bowl full of mead, and the king took it all, both the bowl and her hand, and immediately he felt as if the heat of fire ran through his skin, and he wanted to have intercourse with her that same night. But Svase said that would not happen unless he used force, or if he became betrothed to her and obtained her according to the law. And so the king became betrothed to Snefrid and got her, and loved her with such passion that he neglected his kingdom and all that pertains to a king's dignity. They had 4 sons, Sigurd Brushwood, Halfdan Tall Legs, Gudrud Gleam, and Rognvald Straight Legs. Later, Snefrid died, but her skin color didn't change at all. She was as red as when she was alive. The king sat over her and thought she would wake up again. He held on like that for 3 winters, mourning her death, while the whole country mourned his foolishness. In order to cure his delusion, Thorleif the Wise came to help, and he treated his delusion with wisdom. First, by going along with the king with these words: "It is no wonder, king, that you mourn such a beautiful and noble wife, and dignify her with down and silks as she asked you. But your dignity is less than fitting, and hers as well, as she lies for too long in the same linen, and it would be much more proper to have her moved and the linen under her changed." As soon as she was moved from the bed, a stench and foul reek of every kind rose from the corpse. They hastened to build a pyre and burn her. But before that her whole body turned blue, and out of it crawled worms, adders, frogs, and toads, and all kinds of vermin. She then sank into ashes, and the king regained his wits, put away his folly, and resumed his rule of the realm. He found strength and happiness with his subjects, and they with him, and the realm with both. Yeah, so that was that for this one. And next we'll be reading about Tjodolf from Kvine, one of the great poets of the sagas.